Are you serious? Are you serious, folks? Well, I tell you what, things are getting a little different. We're in a different world now. There's no doubt about that. I want to welcome you to this broadcast because, for instance, Warren Buffett, who's made billions of dollars in the stock market, decided to do something. He's still in the stock market, don't worry about that. But folks, he went out and did something he's never done before. And that was buy a ton of gold. And he did it by selling off his Goldman Sachs, as well as JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, P&G, and others. He sold a lot of bank stocks and used the money to buy a gold mine in Canada and a lot of gold. This is unprecedented, way out of character for Mr. Warren Buffett. So what is it that Warren Buffett knows that some of us may not know? Or is it something right in front of us that we're just not picking up? Now, one thing's for sure, Buffett's purchase of a single stock of Barrick Gold, whose stock has reflected that the gold is, for 2020, gold is up. Matter of fact, we know it's up. Gold's up, silver's up, a lot of the miners are up. But there's even some economists saying, because Warren Buffett is leading us into gold, that this could cause Bitcoin to hit $50,000 a coin. What does this all mean, and why abandon the banks? Let's turn to the expert, the man with the message, from www.tradegeniusacademy.com. That's tradegeniusacademy.com. We have with us Bob Kudla. Bob, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Paul. How you doing?
I feel like I'm doing okay today. I'm going to keep on going. I'm trying to wade my way through this 2020 year in every area. So tell us what's going on. What does Warren Buffett see down the road here, and why is he leaning so heavy toward the miners?
Yeah, well, first of all, to Warren Buffett, welcome to our club. We've been long gold since 2016. And, he's a little late to the party.
Yeah.
So what he's reacting to Jerome Powell's message of a couple weeks ago, where he said you can basically measure in years before they're going to raise interest rates. And for banks, the only way banks make money is on what's called a positive spread. And, they need to be able to lend money out at a higher rate longer than they're borrowing from the Fed. Well, if the Fed has all this stuff compressed like they do, is that there's no money in it. And then number two is that, I think you've noticed there's this pandemic out there that, at least what they call it, that we're locked down and people aren't paying their mortgages, they're not paying their commercial mortgages, they're not paying their leases. And these banks are on the hook for potentially trillions of dollars of bad loans. So banks are a bad bet, and they're not lending any money to boot. So, but on the gold and silver side is that they like negative real rates, and that's what this situation is. And with negative real rates, what you have is a situation where gold and silver become attractive as an investment. And I have to apologize. There's somebody out here making all kinds of noise. Hope it's not disturbing you.
No, we're all right.
And so gold and silver miners are leveraged to gold. Now, Buffett didn't buy a gold mine. He bought GOLD, which is Barrick Gold, which is one of the largest gold miners in the world. They have mines all over the world. They're just based in Canada. And so what Barrick Gold's going to do, and why Buffett's attracted to them, is that they're going to start buying up all these junior miners that are out there that have discovered gold but don't have the capital to bring it out of the ground. And it'll be a win-win. Barrick gets certainty over the reserves. The smaller companies get to cash out without putting a whole lot of money in, taking a risk of getting to market. So as far as we're concerned, the precious metals market is going to get a lift. And all Warren Buffett did was basically validate it.
So, okay, this is a great point, folks. And this is Bob Kudla from TradeGeniusAcademy.com. And he trains people on how to trade. how to trade. And he has a school. Matter of fact, he has a great specials going on with his school right now. And you can check that out at his website at www.tradegeniusacademy.com. And look at some of the comments people are leaving there. Unbelievable there. They're excited. They're happy. They're ready to get back and learn more. And look at this. Look at the returns that they're making off some of this stuff. And that's because Bob impressed me so much when he told me that he studied the weather patterns so that he could tell, like, if there's a lot of droughts, like the monsoon's been bad, the locust is bad. I guarantee you Bob knows right now which commodities would be the right ones to invest in because they're obviously going to go up, and which ones to stay away from just based on weather patterns. So Bob, that's what Warren Buffett's doing. He's looking at the long term, next 10 years. He don't see making a lot of money off interest from banks, and he sees banks being in a risky situation. So I've just looked today. The gold is at $1,934 an ounce. Silver's at $27 an ounce. And Bitcoin's at $10,347 a coin. So gold's got room to still go up, I think, but silver's got a lot of room, doesn't it?
Yeah, so our view on the precious metals are that, silver is going to, when it breaks out, it's going to go to $45 next by the end of next year. And we think gold's going to go to $2,900. Platinum is undervalued versus gold as well as uranium. So those are the areas that we're most interested in, and those are the miners that are traded in the public markets. Those are the stocks that we're trading, and we're teaching people how to find the buy signals, and we're also the ones throwing out the trade signals for those as well. That's where the opportunity is, and we're already probably in inning 4 of this move. So a lot of these miners have already doubled. And then this next move over the next 18 months is where the biggest money will be made. Because once this election's over, the Fed is just going to turn the juices loose on the balance sheet, either for Trump's second term or for God forbid, a first term for Joe Biden Harris. And so they're going to just let it loose. And they're going to cause what's called negative rate environment, which will just lift the metals and miners. Now, having said that, Paul, I think we're in a position here before the election to see a bit of a sell-off in everything, okay? So if you notice, all summer long, the market was pushing higher. We've now learned that there was a big fund in Japan that was manipulating the markets using the option contracts to drive companies like Tesla and Apple and Amazon to absurd levels. You can't justify their prices based on the cash flows of the business between now and the next 2 centuries. And so that has to settle, that has to backfill. And so there's a potential of the whole move from June could get wiped out in the markets. And then from there, then we'll probably have our next move higher. And everything will get caught up in that. So I don't want people to think, hey, you can just load in hard today and it's riches kumbaya forever. It's, there's going to be some testing here before the election, because look, if you made a lot of money over the last 4 years with Trump and you think there's any possibility that the crazies on the left are going to get in, they want your money. And you're going to want to be out of these markets before everybody else has to sell. And so you're going to see a bit of a sell-off until this election happens.
So there's no question, Joe Biden and Harris, there's no bones about this. They're about big-time tax and spend. They are going to, if they get in power with the help of Nancy Pelosi, they are going to tax the American public out of their minds. The middle class will get walloped, and the wealthy will take a beating, and the people who've been struggling, waiting for something to come down their pike, won't see it. It just won't come down there. They got a lot of people to pay. And to your point, a lot of folks are going to sell off just before the election, just in case. That means the market's going to take a dip. We might have a black Monday in October. Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, I mean, all those things are possible. The market's been holding up surprisingly well because the Fed has been supporting it. I don't know if we'll have a crash. I don't want to suggest that, but I do suggest to people to take a good hard look at what they own. You may want to shift it and just be prepared for some bumpy weather here over the next 6 weeks.
Going forward, there's some, I'm looking here, the market again today was up 439 points. It's at 27,940. I really didn't, when we were down in the 19,500 in April with Corona, I didn't see how in the world the market would get back to 27, 28, 29,000. I just don't know how in the world. So has Trump done a phenomenal job in trying to create the V recovery with some of the policies he's doing?
Look, I think Trump did all he can. He's fighting against the mayors and the governors who really have the ultimate authority and responsibility for allowing people to get back to work. So I think if he had full control, we would be probably back to normal by now. But we got to give credit where credit's due. The Federal Reserve basically bought the markets, and then SoftBank came in June when it was starting to lag and lifted us into September. So, you can attribute any wire or reason for that. They just did it. And because the economy is still lagging the stock market. Yeah. But nothing Trump has done is wrong. Everything he's done is right. It's just that he can't control what's going on with some of these municipalities. And he's not really free to really go for it until the election is behind him, because they pin every nuance on him. So he can't have something hanging on his head. But assuming he wins the election in November, I say by the middle of December, all the lockdowns are over, because Trump will simply defund those people that aren't playing ball.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting what happens the morning after November 4th, and Trump goes forward. I've seen that the president just announced he's going to release 20 names for the next Supreme Court justice, and I think that's huge because he's setting a bar out there. He's going ahead and he's putting out his second term plan. No doubt he will put another Supreme Court justice on the bench, maybe two. He's already put two. So this is a game changer, isn't it? This might be one of the most pivotal elections we've ever had in this nation. We can't be any more divided since Abraham Lincoln's days of Civil War. So how do we get turned back around as far as the mentality? Or is this the new norm? Are we always going to be talking capitalist against socialist? What's happening, Bob?
That's called praying.
And that's exactly what we got to do, Bob. We're going to have to pray, and really pray, because we don't want to go the other way.
All on this. This isn't left, right. This isn't Democrat, Republican. This is truly globalist, pure evil. I mean, I can't put a more finer point on it. I mean, the people that are in power, that desire power, no longer wants the United States as a separate entity and wants us to be at the mercy of global entities that do not believe in God, are brutally anti-Semitic, that are anti-life, that are pro-pedophilia, that worship the beast, and basically live their life for their own pleasures versus the well-being of the people who they govern. I mean, the fact that people can't see that, just reminds me of the Bible, where God just says he's just going to turn these people over to, deceiving spirits, and these people are just crazy. And look at the people rioting. These people don't look normal, Paul. all. You know,
really
and I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't so scary. I mean, these guys win the election, they're coming to your neighborhood. These DAs are not arresting these people. Well, they're arresting them, but they're just ignoring the law, and it's just going to embolden people. So, you know, I encourage everybody listening, you better vote, you know, because, you know, as your life depends on it, because I think it will. I think we're at one of those points. I agree with you. This is a Lincoln-Douglas election where we're going to have a country where the elites and the normal people are going to come to blows.
Bob Kudla, folks, TradeGeniusAcademy.com. That's TradeGeniusAcademy.com. You can call him as well. The phone number is 1-800-949-1408. You see it there on the screen, and you can call him. Bob, you've got some tremendous success, and even in this year, with this absolute insane volatility, tell us a little bit about what's been going on with the folks that are involved with you and have been taught by you and have learned how. I mean, here's your back to school special right now, folks. You see it right there on the screen. How long is this still in play, this back to school special?
Till the 12th.
Okay. So we got about 3 more days on this, guys. You definitely want to jump on this, guys, because he can train you to start being able to buy and sell, how to trade in the market. He's an expert in this. And tell us a little about what your success rate is and how people are doing.
Yeah, so the system's called the profit ribbon system, and it's based on price action, and it's looking at the buying pressure and selling pressure. And so the system's designed to be right 65% of the time, which is really good. That's probably elite level in terms of being at what's called a win rate. But more important than the win rate is they call the profit factor, and that means you win more money when you win versus lose when you lose money. And so we're averaging a trade around 3 days, and those trades average about 1.25%, which doesn't sound a lot, but you annualize that and it's over 165%. In annualized gains. So to the extent that you're fully invested, that's the potential, based on the system. And we usually try to call out a trade or two a day on our signals for people to trade alongside of us. But more importantly, what we do is we actually give you the toolkit, and it literally says buy, and it literally says sell. And so you can find things that you like to buy and sell based on your risk tolerances and your desires. And you can trade things that I don't trade and do equally as well. In addition to that, we have chat rooms that are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we trade stocks, we trade cryptocurrencies, as Paul mentioned in his opening monologue. And we trade binary options, and we trade the futures markets. And we have rooms open for all of those. And so it doesn't matter if you have a small account or a large account. It doesn't matter if you're experienced or brand new. There's a niche in which we can help you. And, we're not Lambo people. We don't promise you the Robin Hood day trading kind of things, because that's dangerous. But we'll teach you a methodology that you can use for years and continue to build wealth, regardless of what the stock market does. If the stock market goes down, the same rules apply. There's ETFs that will go up when the market goes down. And, if tech's doing bad and commodities are doing good, the signals will tell you that, and you just go trade what works. So it's a good system, and it's a tool you can have for the rest of your life.
And once you learn this system, folks, you'll be able to follow it along. And if you want to, if you say, I'm just not real confident in my own abilities, you can just follow Bob's advice. Sell and buy. You just seen where he told one there in those comments we showed you. When they said, should I go ahead and buy? And he said, no, close it. And I'll talk to you next week. And the person did. And of course, they were happy with a 4.8% return. And you can't make that. If your money is sitting in a bank somewhere, forget it. You're never gonna make 5% on anything. And you can make 10%. You can make 12%. I'm sure that there's some really good stories Bob has for you of some really big winners they've had, and average it out and you have a good year. So, Bob, let me...
And that trade was in 3 days, too. That was 4.8% in 3 days. So, so we do those quite often. And there's one, I think I didn't send you over one where a person was fairly new, he'd been listening, I believe even to this show, and just was afraid to move his 401k into a more conservative standpoint. He joined us. He shot me a note and said, hey, you can save me $40,000 because he got me out ahead of this big sell-off we had in the last 2 weeks. And so cash is also a position. So, we tend to be conservative, and we tend to try to get you in things that will work well over time. So it's a really good system, and what we charge for the service is nothing compared to what you get out of it.
And so, folks, again, go to www.tradegeniusacademy.com. That's tradegeniusacademy.com. Pick up the phone. Call them at 1-800-949-1408. Bob, we got to ask you about Kamala Harris. She's from California. You're in California. When she ran for president, she got 2% of the vote. So it made sense when she bailed out. I don't know. I still to this day don't know why Bernie and some of the other Democrats decided to all quit on the same day, and this was absolute arm twisting to put Joe Biden in. But why in the world did he choose her, and what can she do to help him? I just don't see how that ticket can win. As if they win with this socialistic radical views, what does this mean? So what do you know about Harris from California?
Yeah, don't give him advice, Paul. Look, Kamala Harris was our Attorney General, and she was also our Senator. And look, there's no doubt she's very bright, but she's extremely radical. But she has no center, okay? When she thought she needed to be tough on crime, she was tough on crime. When she's now running for vice president, she has to be soft on crime. She disavows any of the things that she's ever done, because she was not a friend of the African American community, as is Joe Biden. I mean, you want to talk about a racist? They are the definition of racist. They kill you with the smile, right? And you think they say all the right things, but they Joe Biden just thinks that they're inferior people, and culturally and figuratively and literally. And if they act up, they're animals. They need to be in jail. He doesn't want his kids to go to school with them. Kamala Harris jokes about putting people in jail forever for smoking dope, but she smoked dope herself. So she's a liberal, and she doesn't even fit the definition of an African American. She's Caribbean, number one, and she's also from Indian descent, Indian descent, and she's never had the experience, if you will, and so the reason why Joe Biden picked her was she was the only person that met his criteria that he put out for himself of a woman of color that that had any kind of name brand recognition. He would have did far better picking Tulsi Gabbard. That's the one I would have feared, but he chose Kamala, and she has a very negative reaction from the African American community. I think Trump's poll numbers in that community went up after she was picked. So, so I'm not sure why he trapped himself, as the Democrats do, because they're all about style over substance. But she wasn't the best choice. So now they got to live with it. Bernie, why he dropped out, Bernie rather be the kingmaker behind the scenes, okay? He would never get his agenda passed. He would never become president if he ran and he took the mantle of the nomination process. So now he gets to control Biden through Nancy Pelosi and through the Senate. And so that was his plan all along. It's a lot easier work, right? If you don't have to run the country, but all your policies get approved. That's why Bernie did what Bernie did. But I think they screwed up. I don't think they realized that Joe would be falling this far off a cliff.
Yeah, it's really a dysfunctional ticket, and I don't see. It's got to be a landslide. I mean, look, but there's so much hatred toward Trump. I mean, let's face it. The radicals hate him. I've never seen any president ever hated this bad, except maybe Lincoln. This is just insane. But let's hope we can get some healing and get past it. I got another question for you on this subject. There's a lot of speculation out there that this mail-in voting. Are you concerned that election night? I kind of see it this way: election night, Trump wins by a big margin, wins by about 100 delegates. It should be over. But the Democrats will not secede, and they'll want to count every vote. We'll hear that for 30 days, and there'll be these weird boxes of votes just keep piling up. Are you concerned about that?
Well, I think, that's the only thing I'm really concerned about. But I think, Trump is moving people into positions, and we don't have to worry about every state, okay? We have to worry about the states where the Democrats are in charge of the election process. And so, you move your lawyers in there. Look, Trump controls the post office. He controls the Federal Election Commission too. They can put rules out there saying if these ballots are not into the central polling place by 8 p.m. of that day, or the day before, they're not counted. Just like you showing up late to a polling booth, right? You don't get in. They cut you off. You're the last person. And I think Trump's going to have to do that versus them finding stuff. But there's a lot of things that are going on here. I think they'll look at if there's any close elections, they'll look at every single ballot. And Trump told people today that go in and vote, even if you've mailed in a mail-in ballot provisionally, because you don't know if your ballot's going to ever make it to the polling station, and that will just simply force every vote to be counted. Look, he's not stupid. He knows this is the only game they have. Okay, and it's just going to be something we're just going to have to be mindful of, going forward. I mean, every day you see fraud. You saw in LA, this guy's just dumping mail out into an office park and leaving. So I know he's going to be on top of it. I agree with you. I think this is a Reagan-Mondale kind of event. I think he's polling 35% among the Hispanic community after saying he's going to build a wall. He's polling, I think, 25% among the African American community after being told he's a racist for 4 years. I think every white man in the country is going to vote for him, and about half the suburban mothers. So the Democrats have really isolated themselves, and I think they're trying to go for a steal. And we're just going to have to be watching it. Everybody, you can be a poll watcher. You can go to your register of voters in your town and say, I want to be a poll watcher.
So we all can participate, not only just voting, but you could say, hey, I want to be I want to help see this. All citizens can participate if they want to. I'm going to ask you one more question. So
get engaged.
Yeah, get engaged in this, folks. Again, this is Bob Kudla from TradeGeniusAcademy.com. And you can always call him at 1-800-949-1408. This program he has, the school he has to help teach people. You can get started, guys, and it don't take a lot of money to get you started. And watch and see what he could do. And if you listen and learn and watch, you can grow in this and understand it. And go slow, go slow. Let me ask you a question. I've been watching the NBA. Look, I played basketball, and I really love the game. I'm watching what I'm seeing, and then I don't know if I'm watching a basketball game or a political agenda. I don't know what's going on. I respect everybody's view, but I don't know what in the world's going on. And I hear that football is going to do the same thing with, Black Lives Matter. That organization is involved in so many of these riots. I'm not talking about protesting. I'm talking breaking windows, looting places, shooting people, and all the violence. So how does the big corporations continue to still promote that without any issue? Or am I wrong? Is ticket sales going to be great when the NBA gets back? Everybody's going to flood the stadiums. Do you feel that's coming, or what do you think?
Well, look, they don't make money in the stadiums. They make money on TV. And I think the next round of TV contracts that are going to be quite disappointing for basically all four of the major sports, because people are not watching anymore. And look, the NBA is kind of unique because they have basically the urban black market is one of their core constituency for branding, and they feel that there's a resonance there with this. And so and unfortunately for a lot of people, look, you and I, we all are against, systemic racism, which is a pig in a poke because it's not systemic, it's episodic. And what we're really talking about here is we created an environment where the police feel that they're at war with their citizenry. So we put the cops in a position of basically adjudicating poor politics. And so unfortunately, people get hurt. And the African American community in these cities are rightfully, I think they're frustrated. They don't want to get rid of the police because they don't want anarchy. At the same time, they don't want to be afraid of the police too. So I'm empathetic to their call, but we need to more than tape loops and slogans. We need to really sit down and uncover this and unpack it and dig into this and find out, why do these things happen? Why does this cop feel he has to do this? Regardless if he was justified or not justified, trained or untrained, good or bad, why is this happening? You always have to do an engineering of this thing to eliminate it and get people to be less fearful. And the ironic thing about it is, look, it's not just the white cops and the black kids are the ones that sell the tickets at the TV, but there's a lot of black cop on black citizen, action too. You'd have to look no further than what happened in Rochester, right? So, they didn't call that racism, they called it brutality. So there's just, there's that we have to worry about. But the NBA, you don't win by calling half your customers, racist. The NFL's finding that out. The NBA's finding that out. The NHL, they dipped their toe in that. I don't think they liked what it felt like. And so, I think this thing will, when it starts hurting them in the pocketbook, I think this thing will die.
I agree, and prayer is going to be the answer. Again, you said earlier, prayer is what the answer is for the election and things going on, and I think it's the same thing with the divisiveness as relates to race. And I feel really bad. I really feel bad for the African American community. I feel like for so many years that they were let down by the Democrat Party.
I mean, they've been promised things for 50 years. And they have expectations. If you and I were in that community, we'd be pretty pissed too. And they just keep getting promised things that don't. And I think Trump's the first time that says, "Hey, insanity is expecting a different result from the same promise, right? Give me a world for a change." And he's done things for that community. And so, I think that community owes it to President Trump to let him stand on his word and see if he lifts them out of, if not poverty, but out of misery, and start there. That's the only thing, one thing about this country, that we boiled everything down into slogans. And we need to get past that if we're gonna survive as a nation.
Bob Kudla, folks, TradeGeniusAcademy.com. Take a look at the specials that he has. You got 3 days left. You should really get in probably to the school there and learn how you can be a trade genius, just like Bob, and be blessed and highly favored of the Lord. Bob's a good Christian man, leads Bible study, and also really helps people to really understand and get control of your own future. Okay, my grandma always said, every tub has to sit on its own bottom. Okay, and she came through the Depression. Everybody's got to pull their own weight, and you can do it with Trade Genius. Bob, thank you so much for being with us today. I think this was very candid, but a very important discussion today, and so people need to check out your school and learn more about how they can be a trade genius.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Guys, we'll see you next time right here.